Hey guys, welcome to another Visionary Male Leaders Live. And this is going to be actually the last one in this first series we have created. And today we are together with me and the leadership coach, co-author in the book, and also I'm here with Sarah Bellorini, who is the editor of the book, as maybe all of you know who are watching the series, but she's also the heart, the leader of the project. I always say that she was actually the biggest catalyst this book to really go into life and to find the right people for it. I'm so grateful to Sarah for creating this space for us so that we can share our wisdom and our ideas around visionary male leadership. And so today we are going to talk with her about leadership, of course. You're going to know a little bit more about her. We're going to talk about the book itself, how it actually the idea came out, and actually how the book is important right now in this moment in the world. We know it is. I'm so excited about that because Sarah has a lot of wisdom. Sarah has a lot of creativity, and she really is here to illuminate us more into the topic and how is this actually is going to be important in the next years in the world after all of these hardships we have been through the last 2 years. So, Sarah, welcome first to the conversation.
Thank you, Dimi. Hello.
Yeah,
Wow, what a
and
big intro.
absolutely. And um, we call today the episode like the vulnerable visionary, and because we thought with Sarah that it's so important, and actually this is the main idea here that vulnerability can help us to be really great leader, to be
Yeah,
visionary, and to help the world become a better place. So first, Sarah, can you share a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your story, of who you
yeah,
are, and
sure.
how did you come up to this moment?
Okay. Thanks, Dimi. And hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, either live or on the replay. We really appreciate you being a part of this conversation. And that's really what I would like to start by saying, that it is a conversation that we're having. Um, we're not saying that we've got the answers here. This is very much a co-creation piece and
Mm,
an awareness piece and an opening up and an invitation to join the conversation. And it's a conversation about visionary leadership. And so, what is a visionary leader? And this book is specifically about our inherent feminine and masculine traits or leadership traits. And when we're able to identify them and integrate them, we become whole humans, integrated humans, and
mm,
integrated leaders. And we can then live and lead from this space and create transformational and sustainable impact in our work and through our businesses. And really that's what this is about, because we're all different humans,
mm,
and we all bring something very, very unique to the world. And for me, that's what this book is about. It's about celebrating our uniqueness and inviting people to really know who they are, because for so many of us, in our past and still today, we feel like we've got to put on a mask. We've got to, adopt some kind of what I'm referring to as a toxic masculine mindset and
mm,
consciousness. And it's like we've had this patriarchy for such a long time, and it's really, really
mm,
time to for it to disintegrate and to allow the
mm,
feminine to rise. And when we talk about masculine and feminine, this is not gender specific. And toxic masculinity is not gender specific either. And just to quickly say, Demi, that part of my story is that I was very much in my toxic masculine. I led a team in middle management, and
mm,
yeah, and I eventually got burnout from that, because I was just plowing through. I was coming from this space of fear, ego. It was all about me. And I think that's the other thing to bring into this conversation, is this invitation to stop making it all about me, to stop being from the small self, the fear-based self, and to look outside and know that there is something that is so much bigger than all of us that's going on. But the paradox is to be able to look outside at that thing that is so much bigger than me, the vision, and be the visionary. We have to be able to go on that internal journey. And that's the vulnerability piece, because if we're not able to be vulnerable with ourselves, then we don't really get to know ourselves, and we don't really get to identify the gunk and get rid of that, and then identify the gold and bring that out into the world. And each of us have a unique part to play in creating this new consciousness that the world is screaming out for right now. So yeah, I know that was quite a long answer to your question, but I hope that, you know, gives the viewers a bit of context about who I am and, yeah, where I'm coming from with bringing this all together.
Yeah, it seems that it's something very close to your heart, Sarah. I mean, we say that several times, that it's very important for you. It seems that this is a purpose, a big purpose for you, to actually bring that into the world and actually invite more people to be part of the conversation, to be part of this journey.
Yeah.
And we very often we refer to Brené Brown and her work on vulnerability and shame, and it's, you know, but about you, tell me, what about vulnerability is very important for being a great leader?
So yeah, that's an interesting question, Dimi, because yeah, what is vulnerability? And so many people still perceive vulnerability as woo-woo, or it's a weakness. And we know through Brené Brown's research that vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity, innovation, and change. There is so much. You just froze there for a second. I'm
Yeah,
so glad
that's all
you're
right.
still here.
We are back. We are back.
Yeah, great. So yeah, so we know from Brené Brown's research that vulnerability is this birthplace of, as I was saying, creativity, innovation, and change. And we're constantly changing, aren't we, as individuals, and our planet and our businesses are constantly changing. So, and particularly right now in the world, there is so much change to navigate. And businesses have to innovate to, you know, to stay ahead of the curve and to stay relevant. And creativity now has been identified as one of the top 3 skills for all businesses by the World Economic Forum. So we know that creativity is hugely, you know, a vital piece of the puzzle for creating new businesses, and for answering the call that the world is putting out to us right now. And so, through also what I know through Brené Brown's research is that what blocks vulnerability is shame. And shame is kind of the thing that no one wants to talk about. And it's really uncomfortable. It really, really is so uncomfortable. Though what I say in the introduction to the book is that, you know, this is a conversation partly about getting comfortable with what we perceive to be uncomfortable. And it's through being brave, you know, which is the outcome of vulnerability, is that we can start to go into those spaces that are not so comfortable. They're a bit crunchy. And we can start to have these conversations, and we can start to see that we're all humans, you know, we're not little robots. We have emotion, we have a history, and we have a life. You know, we're holistic human beings, and it's not about chopping off a certain part of ourselves or masking over a certain part of ourselves to compromise ourselves and to not really flourish as the people that we were created to be. And the other thing with vulnerability is that, and this again is from Brené Brown's research, is that it's about uncertainty, embracing uncertainty, embracing risk, and it's about emotional exposure. you know, and one of the questions that she asks is, you know, give me a time when you've been courageous without it being, without uncertainty, without risk, and without emotional exposure. It's very easy to say that we're being courageous, or we want to be courageous, and we are courageous. I think this is the thing. We do function, we do more than function. You know, we can actually survive and thrive in uncertainty if we're conscious about it. You know, we all take risks in our businesses, in our personal lives, and we show up and we expose ourselves emotionally. And I think part of the time we don't know that we're actually doing that stuff. We don't know that we're exhibiting those behaviors of vulnerability. So I think part of this conversation is really about people understanding how they're being vulnerable, and then it's this identification of it, and then you can embrace it, you can embody it, and you can start to lead from a different place. And that is transformational, and it's sustainable change when we can do that, I believe.
Absolutely. And what's coming in my mind is that actually when you learn how to be vulnerable in front of people, especially as a leader, you give the permission to other people to be vulnerable as well. And
Yeah.
that's a big shift in the culture you are in this company, because um, it actually doesn't matter if it's the company. It can be also with your, like, as a parent, with your children, or with your friends, or with whoever you are. Because when we live in this place of, I need to be strong, I don't want to show weaknesses. I need to be really people to see me as someone who doesn't have any problems, which very often is the case in different. It doesn't matter if it's family, again, friendships, or with in your company. And then other people also don't do that, because they believe that this is they should do. They should be strong. They shouldn't ask for help. They shouldn't
Yeah.
ask for whenever they. So all of this, what I want to, I guess I want to say is that people, leaders, the most important for them is to understand that they give a gift not only to themselves but also to everyone around them when they
Absolutely.
learn how to be vulnerable. Of course, appropriately vulnerable. We don't talk that you're gonna
Yeah.
all the time complain, and that's not okay, because some people take it on the other extreme, I think. But it's
Yeah.
not about that. Here it's about, as you said, being courageous to be weak sometimes, especially for men. That word weak is
Yeah.
very, very dangerous in a way, because men, when they we don't want to be weak, we want to be strong. But again, when you see it on the other ways, I say, but what about that makes me strong? Actually, to be vulnerable is to be very strong. It's not to
Yeah.
be weak. So all of these changes, I think the book shows in different chapters how
Hmm.
actually to be vulnerable is to be strong. They're equal to each other. They are not opposites. And I think this shift creates a lot of, because for most of us, of course, we want to the logic to work, like to say, okay, but that makes sense now, because
Yeah.
when a strong man, and most of the men, not most of the men, all of the men here are very strong men. They
Yeah.
are really leaders in one way or another.
Hmm.
And we talk about how actually I want to be vulnerable. Part of the stories of some of us are how we were vulnerable in some way with ourselves or with other people. And that shows to the other men, okay, wow, that makes sense. Maybe I can try it. Maybe I can see how that's going to work in my organization.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that for me is very important. Part of the book is the example, is the personal story
Absolutely. Yeah.
of that, and this
Yeah.
makes the book. Uh, let's talk a little bit about the book. So, what actually makes the book so valuable? It's not that we want to advertise the book like, wow, this by no, it's not just about the advertisement. It's about the
No.
value of the book and how
Yeah.
the book can be very valuable to you as a leader. And that's my take on that. You take different
Yeah.
perspectives from different people, leaders, all of them, different
Yeah.
continents, different countries. Like we have people from almost every continent here, and
Yeah.
all of us talk about, at the end we go to the same thing. be vulnerable,
Yeah.
compassionate, and understanding. So tell me, for you, why the book right now in this is very important right now for leaders.
Yeah, thanks, Demi. Excuse me. I just want to pick up on a couple of other things that you said.
Mm,
And it's this, they're leaders who walk their talk, essentially. And there are so many leadership books out there, and a lot of them. Okay, so what I wanted to ensure with this book was that it was going to be implementable. So it was inspirational. So you're going to think differently, but it's also influential. So you're going to act differently. And
mhm,
that's the thing. To me, there's a lot of theory out there. We all have a shed load of head knowledge, don't we? And of course, the there's so much other valuable leadership advice out there. What this is about, this is really about the inner world, our inner world as leaders. And it's really this journey from the head to the heart. So it's this journey from the analytical to the creative. It's the journey from the masculine to the feminine. It's they are labels, they're words, though they're ways of helping us to understand the different energies that we have at play. Because I'm not suggesting, and none of us in the book are suggesting, that we throw out one and
no,
substitute it with the other. This is very much about balanced leadership. And it's this, what I have heard a lot of since putting this book out and in the run up to putting it out, was that there are a lot of leaders, male leaders specifically, because that's who we're speaking to specifically. It doesn't mean it's not for women, but we're
mm,
specifically talking to men, and we can go into that in a bit. Though there are a lot of men out there, male leaders out there, who know that the policies are changing, you know, laws are changing, things are changing. They've got the head knowledge, they've got the memo, as we say in Australia. Though there's a gap between, okay, I know intellectually that this stuff is happening, and I've got to get on the bus. And actually, the bus has left the station, the train has already left the station. And then there's this gap between, and then actually being able to embody it and walk their talk. And it's a pretty big gap. And what I love about every single story and chapter in this book is that there is the personal journey, the personal leadership journey, and how that is then impacted and influenced the business,
mm,
their journey in business, in leadership in business. So it's leadership in life and it's leadership in business. And
mm,
it's been so incredible to witness all of you get on the other side of your story, and really, really
mm,
own your story, because there is so much power in our stories. And this brings me back to, what I was saying before about vulnerability. It's like, it's a big kind of concept, isn't it? Leadership is a massive concept. So how
mm,
can we break this down for people? And how can we make it so that, yeah, it's not a massive elephant. It's a
yeah,
bite-sized chunk that you're able to chew over and feel into, like, how does that sit with me? And how could I just do one thing slightly differently today, for example? And as you say to me, like, this is a truly global book. We have leaders from all over the world. And I specifically set out to do that because I didn't want it to be just from one perspective. I think it's
yeah,
so vitally important to open up the conversation to as many people as possible. I mean, diversity and inclusion are massive topics at the moment, and may they continue to be.
yeah,
Because that's celebrating the individual, and what I was saying before is that we all have something unique to bring. Um, and when we're able to go on that journey within ourselves and to know and own our own personal journey, there is so much gold in there that we
mm,
can then bring out. And it's really a consciousness and awareness that we're raising around this. And when more people can, yeah, gain that awareness about themselves, then as you've already said, then we show up differently, don't we? And
Mm,
so and it's that ripple effect. Just just one
mm,
person, one person, and things start to change. And it's not kind of, sort of papering over the cracks with just some head knowledge. You're
yeah.
actually understanding it on a cellular level, and things can
Mm,
actually change. And that's what we mean by transformational change and sustainable change. Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. When you embody something, it's completely different. And through stories, it's way easier to do it
Yeah.
versus through only some kind of theory about it.
Yeah.
So when you hear something, it makes sense. But when you hear
Yeah.
the story, when you put yourself in the shoes of this person, and in some way we always do that whenever we hear a story, because we have a lot of similarities in the way we've been through life. I mean, we've been
Yeah.
maybe living different continents, but we've gone through this almost the same emotional experiences. And
Yeah.
when you go through these experiences, you put yourself in the shoes of this person who is saying the story, and we have 15 people here who share their stories.
Yeah.
And you can pick one from one, the other from something else, but you're gonna at some point, if you that's the beauty of the book, and that's why I'm saying to everyone, just read it several times. And
Mhm.
because when you pick something from one place to the other, then you're gonna create yourself. You're gonna create your own story out of all of these stories. Because the person's story wouldn't be my story, but it would take something from my story, something from Simon's story, something from Alan's story, or and at some point they're
Mm.
gonna create their own story, and they're gonna own their own story, which
Yeah.
actually is the idea you're sharing with us, that whenever you own it, you really embody it. It's a time when you can really start making the transformation in your life
Yeah.
internally, and then of course it's
Absolutely.
gonna impact externally. Yeah.
Excuse me. It does impact externally. We know that people are leaving bad bosses. They're not leaving companies. They're leaving shitty bosses. People who are really disconnected from their hearts and disconnected from who they truly are, and they're operating out of this toxic, what we're calling toxic masculine space. And this is not just men, it's women as well. I mean, that was totally part of my story. I was in the toxic masculine. I was in an environment, and I didn't have the skills to do anything else. Like I didn't, I grew up in country New South Wales in the 70s in Australia, and emotional intelligence and self-leadership weren't things that we discussed around the dinner table. And
Mm,
thank goodness these things are really, they're on the table now for us all to discuss. And so I guess the business benefit of
mm,
reading this book and implementing the ideas, the strategies, the practices, and going on your own personal exploration around this is that when you're a better boss, when you're an integrated boss who's able to hold a vision for a better future of whatever that looks like to you, you're going to energize your people. Your energy is going to be different. People are going to feel safe around you. You're going to create an environment of safety, of inspiration. People can come in and they can be themselves. And
mm,
this is when creativity and innovation really starts to flourish, when people feel safe to go, actually, I don't have all the answers, but here's a contribution into the conversation. And I guess for
mm,
me, I was the one that held the vision. I received the vision for this book, and I
mm,
held the vision. And yeah, I got wobbly there were times where it got wobbly. There were things that, were
mm,
happening behind the scenes, and, and that's okay, because it's not real life to think that everything's going to be to pan out perfectly or according to plan. But actually it does work out perfectly, because there's always, as a visionary, that there's a bigger force, a force that's greater than ourselves, that is at play. And it's not up to me, my small self, my ego-based self that lives in fear. It's this
mm,
vulnerability that we've spoken about earlier, that allows you to really, really step into being a true visionary and to hold that visionary space. And a vision is pre-manifest. It hasn't arrived here yet. And so by me being vulnerable and, just putting one foot in front of the other, holding the vision and addressing challenges and opportunities and issues as they've come up, we've managed to integrate as leaders, as authors, and we've had such a successful time. I think, the book's been super successful. The value that you guys have received in owning and writing your stories, and but so much has come out of this and will continue to come out of this. And I think as visionaries, it's our job to hold the space for others to see that there's a different way. And it's a space holder. It's creating that space. And then it's also letting go of how that's going to unfold, because that's not my business. My job here is Visionary Male Leaders. It's a book for men by men, essentially on feminine leadership traits. And there was some pushback with that title. Why is it men? Why isn't it women? Why is it feminine? Why isn't it masculine? Well, it's both, actually. And so that's been an interesting journey as well, but I think the thing is, if something doesn't, I had one person say to me, I feel repelled and intrigued. And for me, that is amazing, because what if everything's just really nice and really easy and really the way that we like it? Are we ever going to change? Like, really, we change when we're challenged. And I think that's also the role of the visionary, is to challenge the status quo. And to come back to your previous question about, why do we need visionaries at this time in the world? It's because, stop looking at yourself and take a look outside there, guys, because there is so much in the world that is, crying out for a different style of consciousness and leadership. There is so much that we can step out and lead the change on. So it's a real invitation for people to move into their hearts and to really connect into that thing that's really, really on their hearts, that they're super passionate about doing something about.
Absolutely.
And their vision.
Do you know, Sarah, I have this belief that actually the most important people, I wouldn't say the only thing, but I guess the biggest need people, employees, leaders, children, whoever you want to share, they have is to be understood and to be really deeply understood. I believe that if someone possesses this power to understand people and to actually being this understanding presence for people, that actually is the biggest catalyst for the creativity, the light, you could say, the biggest potential, the highest potential people have to come out. Why? Because when people don't feel understood, they close down. And that's a reaction which is automatic for people. Some people even not aware of that. I've spoken to several people throughout, writing my chapter, and then when the book came out, I was just talking to them and I was hearing this, stories. Okay, I gave a lot of myself at the beginning when I started working, but then I saw that no one actually appreciates and understands what I do, so I just stopped doing it. I heard it from so many places, and I think that's how everyone is. So you want to feel appreciated, you want to feel understood, and actually, what we do with the stories is how we actually understand ourselves, or how we understand other people we're working with. That actually so it's a gold, it's gold. It's just something we cannot understand how important it is for people. Only this quality to have, to know how to do it, can change everything.
Absolutely, Dimi. And Yeah, that's very interesting because my experience is through, I'm a leadership, as you know, I'm a leadership coach and I'm also an art therapist. So I've worked with a lot of people and I've been on my own journey. And my experience is that you can't lead other people where you haven't gone before, because it's like you haven't developed that empathy, that cellular memory of what it's like. And there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. You don't want to get into the ditch with somebody. You want to be able to empathize with them and stay strong and hold the vision and hold the boundaries. I've been challenged on quite a few things during this process, and I totally believe in this creative space that you're speaking about. It's this co-creation that I'm very, very passionate about. And I also have to go, okay, I'm standing strong in my vision. So I'm doing both. And had I not understood how I work, and 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 also just to say that, when you're challenged, your stuff comes up, like you get triggered. And if you've not gone on that kind of that personal journey to really understand who you are at your core and how you've become the person that you've become today, because we all know about trauma from past generations and from our own childhoods, and if you let that unconscious, it's like an iceberg, it's like 95% of us that is unconscious, isn't it? It kind of can run us. If we let that run the show, then it's not productive for anybody. So when we're inviting people into this space of vulnerability and self-knowledge and safety, it's really in an evolved way, I think, because it's not about just showing up and letting it all come out. It's about being able to discern, who am I? What's my stuff in this? Okay, I can connect in with that. I can identify it. I can actually lead myself through that, and then I can come out on the other side of that and meet this other person who comes with all of their stuff as well, and I can see, okay, what's theirs, what's mine, what's ours here to talk about together. And yeah, that's from what I know from my own experience and from coaching people, and also through all the interviews that we've done. I know that all the authors in this book have gone on that journey themselves.
Yeah,
we don't wake up with this knowledge. We haven't been educated. I mean, your generation, you're 34, I'm 50. So, we're from different generations. And yeah, luckily it's starting to now be things that you talk about earlier in life, which is really great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just thinking now, it's so important for us to, again, when people ask, because leaders ask, where is this line between being understanding and compassionate, and also being too much, like too directive and too saying what they should do. So what I want also to explain here, and that's what I think is also our opinion here in the book, is that it's not about being soft with people only and just giving them the chance to do whatever they want and you say nothing about that. It's not about that. Actually, what I believe also is when you give the people a chance, when you're understanding with people by themselves, they don't, but truly understanding with them, not being pleasing them. So that's different things, like to please people and to tell them what they want to hear and to be understanding to them and just get what they say, because that's completely different thing. So when you understand the person, when you stay and create the space for a person, then the person allows everything to come out, and then people are most of them, they're responsible, they're going to start doing the things because they let what they wanted to go out and to be understood, to connect with someone, because some people cannot do it for themselves. So you as a leader can do that for them in the work environment, because also you are an authority there. So you are giving them the chance to be themselves, I would say, and then they're gonna give you so many gifts after that, their knowledge, their creativity. So that's very important here to be understood. But we don't talk about pleasing them. We don't talk about
Yeah.
just allowing them to, do whatever they want, and you just stay there and watch. No. And I think this line is very important for people to understand that there is a line there. I remember this guy, Sir Alex Ferguson, the soccer coach, who everyone says is one of the best coaches ever lived. And they asked him, okay, some leaders says they are here, like they're love. The other people say they are like hate and directness or something like this. Where you stay? And he says, I'm staying in the middle, respect. And that's what we talk about here. Combining both. It's not about one or the other, just combining, and in the end, is disrespect. And we are not going to respect a person who can be understanding, but in the same way, tough and directive also when it needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're all different. We all have different values. We all, I think it's immature and unrealistic to expect everybody to be the same as us.
No.
And it's my way or the highway kind of attitude and philosophy and plowing through. And it's really about, again, coming back to this vulnerable piece about you have to stop and ask yourself, like, why am I behaving like that? Why am I pushing through? Why am I bullying? Why am I, having this toxic behavior? Yes, stuff gets done. If you're angry and you're bullying and you're pushing through, stuff gets done. There's no question about it. Though how sustainable is what you're creating? And what are your staff doing? What are your burnout levels? What are your engagement levels, your staff engagement levels? How high is your innovation? What's your productivity doing? What's your staff attrition? Like, all of that impacts the bottom line. So yeah, we're not talking about letting everybody run riot in your business.
No.
We're really talking about seeing the other. And the way that you see the other is by being in this visionary space, by being in this space where you can see it's not all about me. It's not all about little ego-focused, fear-based me. And what creates that fear? It's all the stuff, the things that we've mentioned before. So it is our responsibility as leaders to look at that stuff that triggers us, that creates fear. And also it's about cleaning that out. And then also it's about showing up when you're fearful anyway, but knowing that you're fearful. When I'm conscious that I'm fearful, I can know that, and I don't have to deflect that. I don't have to project that onto somebody else and blame them, bully them, all of that toxic masculinity that we see. We can start to stop that behavior. And I just want to kind of add to this discussion as well, Dimi, that, I know that I've mentioned before that this is not gender specific, but it's really important for me to say here that, there is this movement to have more women on boards and more women in C-suite positions. And that can just be a box ticking exercise. And this is, if these women are in these positions, but they have to adopt this toxic masculine mindset that we're referring to in the book, then they're just going to be perpetuating the issues that we're seeing. And it's not just women that feel pressured into behaving this way. It's men as well. Men don't want to have to behave in this toxic, fear-based way. You guys want to come to work and be wholehearted and vulnerable in a mature, safe, grown-up way, So this is, I think, this whole acknowledgement of of who we are inherently. We have the masculine, we have the feminine, and it's been very, very, very out of balance in our world. And this is a call to come back into balance, because you can have toxic feminine as much as you can have the toxic masculine. So this is about getting healthy, coming into balance, being integrated as humans. And when we're integrated, you know, we can hold the vision for a better world, for a better business, for a better team, you know, for humanity to start to change. So, you know, that's my vision, is to really impact a generation of male leaders. And the reason why I keep on focusing on men is because there's a lot of people already talking about women in this space, women helping men. And yes, I'm a woman and I'm holding the space for men. And it's going to be certain men that come into this space. It's not going to be for everybody. And that's the thing. You know, you know your vision, you get really clear on who that's for, and the right people will come in as well. And there are certain men out in the world that will only listen to men. And so, you know, we're inviting more men into this conversation and more women into this conversation as well, because there is room for everybody's voice here. And this is, you know, if you look at the pie, this is a slice of the pie, isn't it? Like what we're doing in this book, visionary male leaders for other men with a vision for different leadership, and who really want to be able to embody who they are and to be able to walk their talk with integrity and with authenticity, and to create that transformation and that sustainable change in their work and in their businesses, and then in the world.
Great message. Great message. I think it's a great end of the conversation. I think you just gave so much vision about it. So it's a great way to end it. Thank you, Sarah, for being here. Thank you for being this space, being this creativity, being this power which help us created this book, and this I would say even movement. We are part of a movement which we create for people, and this is just the beginning. This was the conversation just started. We're gonna keep it in one way or another. So just keep in touch here, guys. We're gonna, as you said, just the beginning. We're gonna keep going soon. So I wish everyone can have a great day, and think about yourself, how you can actually be a little bit more compassionate, loving, understanding towards yourself and others, and in this way, a visionary leader.
Thanks, Timmy. Ciao.